Good evening, everybody. Kuleo, Ndewo, which other one do I know? Mm, what's good evening in Igbo? I've forgotten. Inakwana, no, Inakwana is good morning. Anyhow, if we should take it like that. Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Um, how are you? How has our day been? Party has been. How has our week been, actually? Thank God it's Friday. Yay. Happy, so good to see you too. Or to no, see you to read your text. I'm not seeing you. I think we need to tell the admin they should plan a hangout where all of us can meet each other so that we can put a face to the name. Or maybe a Google Meet where we can on our camera. Good evening, Obadara Adeshayo. Good evening, Chidioko. Good evening, Debbie. Good evening, good evening. All right. Oh, I missed you too. Aw. Uh, okay. I'm trying to stall for more people to join in, so it starts by 7:05. So that's 2 more minutes, I believe. Please drag your people in. Drag your people in. Yes. So Levina, it will be nice. So we should all meet ourselves. To be really nice. I'll go and disturb the admin. Let us see if it is workable. Um, give me just a minute. I'm trying to send something. Um, to okay. Folayemi, good evening. Um, right. Few more seconds to go. Yes, so people have been enjoying Mr. Moses. I heard he has been making everybody laugh. I think Mr. Moses is single. That's for the single sister. So there's nothing that says, never can tell, where God is. I'm not saying anything, I'm just saying. Am I anyhow? All right. I think I'm in a very playful mood this evening. Good evening, Victoria. Yeah. So it's 7:05 on the dot, and I believe we are good to go. So good to go, good to go. Hope we're good to go. Everybody ready for this evening's class? Yeah, Happy. I know is a fantabulous person. Christophane, thank you for asking. I'm better, I believe. Yeah, I'm better. I think I look better. One of our TA said I look better, so I'm better. All right. So let's I want to see if I can beat my record today that will finish before 9 o'clock or maybe 9 on the dot. So let's see how we can run today. All right, so let's get into it. Can we all see my screen? Can we see the slide? So I know this week we've been taught uh, Amazon Kinesis, right? And we've also looked at well architected framework. And I believe Mr. Moses has done a very awesome job already, um, like he always does, right? So today we're going to be looking into AWS Data Transfer Services. AWS Data Transfer Services. Okay, please can we all see my screen? Let me confirm before I okay. All right. Thank you for letting me. Okay. So uh basically right data transfer is most likely what you call data migration, right? It's basically movement of data from one place to the other, right? And just like for us in the regular world, in the not computing world, right? There are times when you have to move your data from one place to another, maybe move it from your phone to somebody else's phone, and then you have to use Zenda, or you use Bluetooth, all of those things, right? Those are things that help with the transfer of data because there's an exchange of data in that process. So the same thing also applies for cloud computing, right? There are times when there's a need for data to actually be moved between maybe your on-prem location to the cloud or from one cloud to another cloud, etc. Right? And one of these reasons, or some of the reasons why there's usually a need for movement of data, right, is either for backup. So you can move data because of backup. You can move data for analysis purposes. Let's say, for example, you have your data in maybe your on-prem database, but you want to analyze the data maybe using AWS Business Intelligence tool, which is a quick site, or you want to use, let's say, Microsoft Power BI, which is what a lot of people are used to, right? You have to be able to move that data from your on-prem to where that service is so that you'll be able to analyze the data, right? Sometimes data is also moved for collaboration purpose, right? So if, for example, in a department, we have this, maybe let's say maybe customer service now, everybody, you register someone when people come to visit the organization. Maybe you're working in an healthcare hospital and you're in charge of patients registration, right? You have more than one person that is doing those registrations, so you probably want to make the documents that everybody is filling to be live. That way, if this person is making changes to the documents, everybody is seeing it. If this person has already registered this patient, everybody can see so that nobody will go and re-register the patient, right? Those kind of things. So collaboration is also a reason why we move data, right? Why data is migrated. So you're moving it from, if you put the data on somebody's laptop, it means that the person will only be seeing the changes that he has made. If another person has made changes on their own end, there'll be no way that you will be able to see it. So it means you have to move the data to, and it said my screen is not bold. Um TS, please can we just embolden the slide? Let's make it full screen. Let's remove my face for now. Ediri or Josiah, I know one of us can you please help with that? So let's, if we can make the slide full screen. Or is he on my end? Oh, I think it's on my hand. I'm so sorry. I shared my screen. I duplicated my screen. Is that the word? Wish I get what I mean. Alright, so okay. It's, is it fine now? Is it better for everyone? Can we all see it now? Okay. All right. Okay. So let us continue. So as I was saying, right, collaboration is one of the reasons why you need to move data. Probably move it to a place where everyone can be able to collaborate, where you have like a live document, right? Then also is migrating for your business sake, right? Maybe you're moving from on-prem to your on-prem database to maybe AWS database or the likes, right? So there are different reasons why data needs to be migrated. Now, for the things that actually determine, there are different type of data transfer services, right? We are going to be looking into some of them this evening. We can't cover all of them. So as usual, I've added additional resources that we can read up on to look at the other ones that was not covered in the slide. So there are different things that determines the type of data transfer service that you are going to use, right? And one of those things, number one, is the size of the data. One of the things that will, let's say for us, for example, if you want to send a just one picture, right, to someone, you can decide that you want to use maybe Bluetooth, right? Let's assume that this person does not have WhatsApp. Let all of us assume. So this person has Bluetooth, you two you have Bluetooth, right? You can send through the person through Bluetooth. Why? Because the data is not so large, so it will not take so much time. But if you have a maybe a movie, a full movie of about maybe one point something gig, right? And Kennedy wants that movie. The movie is on Taye's phone, right? So you want to transfer the movie to Kennedy's phone. Would you actually choose Bluetooth? Would Bluetooth be your choice of sending that movie? Would you choose Bluetooth? And if you are not going to choose Bluetooth, which service would you choose to use for the transfer instead of Bluetooth? That's if you are not going to use Bluetooth. If you are going to use Bluetooth, please let me know that. Okay, I will use Bluetooth to send 1.5 gig movie. Zenda, thank you. Zenda, for those that are using the iPhone, I'm not the iPhone fan, so I will not know. Right, but Zenda is something that's common. Now, why would you choose Zenda over Bluetooth? It's because you have seen that if you decide to use Bluetooth to send um a movie of 1.5 gig, right, it's going to be slower. You'll probably be there for maybe more than an hour. The thing is still sending, right? Rather, you prefer to use Zenda because Zenda kind of have a faster uh sending rate, right? So it will take less time for you to get it. So the same thing applies in the cloud too. One of the things that will determine which of these services you will decide to use to for your data transfer, right, is what the size of that data is. How big is your data? Are you sending a 5 gig data, or you are sending a 2 terabytes data, or you're sending a 10 petabyte data, or you're even sending an exabyte data? Hope you know that is exabytes. So there's megabytes, there's kilobyte, there's megabyte, there's gigabyte, there's petabyte. So there's terabytes, gigabyte, terabyte, there's petabyte, there's exabyte, right? So they are big datas, right? Much more than we are using or we are consuming. So you need to determine the size of your data will determine the kind of data transfer service you use. Number two is the speed. How fast do you want it? Say for example, if you're not you're not very busy, right? Even though it is like that movie we wanted to send that is 1.5 gig, you don't have something to do, you don't have any other thing to do, you're not in a hurry, you can still decide to use Bluetooth, right? It's not like you will not get the movie if you send it with Bluetooth. But it's just as what it's going to take more time because it's going to be slower. So the speed that you need, how fast how quickly do you want the data to be transferred is also something that will determine, the type of service you are going to select. Also, is it a continuous transfer or a one-off transfer? Is it something that you want that is going to be, maybe if I have something on my phone now, right, and I want to send it to my laptop, I want it to be that as data is updating on my phone, my laptop is getting it immediately, like, or almost in real time, right? So there's a sync between them, right? Say for example, for some of us that back up to the cloud, maybe your pictures and stuff, some of us do real time backing up, right? Which means that immediately you have snapped a new picture, as it's entering your phone, automatically it is also sending it to the cloud and backing it up to the cloud. So those are some of the things that will also determine what kind of service. Also, another thing that determine is the direction of the data. Is it one way or bi-directional? What that means is that, is it like the on-prem will only be sending to AWS, or is it a situation of, as the on-prem is sending to AWS is sending to the on-prem? So there has to be like a two-way traffic, right? So those are some of the things that would determine. Then the last one that I mentioned here is connectivity, right? Do you have good internet to actually send this data, or would you prefer a physical method of sending it? Would you prefer a physical device? Um, if let's say for example now, in quotes, Bluetooth, right? Maybe you want to send something via WhatsApp. Perfect example. You want to send something via WhatsApp, right? And you know that your internet is not very, very good. Rather than using WhatsApp, you probably tell the person, "Oga, the movie is on my laptop. Say you have cord, bring a cord, bring your phone. We'll connect your phone to the cord, and then we'll send it to, I'll send it to you, right?" So connectivity is also something that determines what kind of data transfer service that you are going to use. Now, I just put it here to kind of give us, an idea of uh, why the speed and connectivity is kind of important, right? Say, for example, you have 1 terabyte of data and your upload speed, right, is probably 100 megabytes per second. For some of us our upload speed is still at 2 kilobytes, right? So if you're sending something of 1 terabyte and you have your internet speed is upload speed is 100 megabytes per second, it will take 30 hours for you to be able to transfer this amount of data. But if your bandwidth is 1 gigabyte per second, it will take 3 hours to transfer what? The same data. If your bandwidth is 10 gigabytes per second, what this means is that what is going to be sending 10 gigabyte of data per second, right? So it's going to take 18 minutes to send 1 terabyte of data. While if you have 10 terabytes, it's going to take 12 days to send it if your bandwidth is just 100 megabytes per second, right? And so on and so forth. And then if you now have 10 petabyte of data and your internet bandwidth, upload bandwidth is probably 100 megabytes per second, just be ready that you would have born children, your children would have grown up, your children would have married, uh, you probably have become a grand parent before that data would have sent finish, right? That's if you're using 100 megabytes per second. If you're using 1 gigabyte per second, just 3 years. If you give it to the child today, in 3 years' time, your data also would have sent. And so that's why bandwidth is actually important, right? That's why your connectivity. If you know that in our office, so our network connectivity, the bandwidth is not very, very strong, you really would not want to use, internet and stuff like that to send your data. Okay, so how do you get data from AWS? Hope we can all still hear me. Let me go and check the chat. Hope you can all still hear me. Maybe you're laughing. You'd have become grandma now. You become grandma before your data will send. All right. So, um, Okay, so thank you for confirming that you can all still hear me. So let's get back to our slide. All right, so how do you get your data to and from, like, moving data from AWS or to AWS? There are different modes, right? Majorly there's online data transfer, and then there's offline, and then there's one that is added. It has both a data transfer capability and a storage capability, right? So that's why it's called hybrid storage, not hybrid data transfer. So under online data transfer, basically online data transfer means that you can transfer it over the internet, or over a direct connection, over a private connection, right, to AWS. So is that you're sending it over the internet, or you have a private connection like AWS Direct Connect, right? You have that. That's how you can send your data. So online data transfer will make use of the internet. And example of AWS services that are online data transfer services is your S3 transfer acceleration. You have your Amazon Kinesis data firehose. Mr. Moses talked to us about Amazon Kinesis, right? So Amazon Kinesis data firehose is one of the attributes or another feature of Amazon Kinesis, right? That you use to load streaming data into S3. So if you are when you are streaming data, you are doing something live, right? As it's happening, you are storing the data. As it's happening, you are storing the data. Say, for example, when you have football matches, they are playing a World Cup, right? As they are playing the match, as somebody is recording it there, it is entering into the storage space wherever it is that they are storing. Let's assume that they are storing in S3, right? So for that kind of a thing, Amazon Kinesis data firehose, you can use it. Then you also have what is called the AWS transfer family. But here it is written as AWS transfer for SFTP. So SFTP is basically secure FTP, right? There's FTP and then there's SFTP. So the S there is secure, basically. So AWS transfer family is used to transfer files, right, into S3. Is a managed file transfer system. So there are different type of transfer uh, or storage protocols that it allows. So there's file, SMB, NFS, and all of those things, right? So there's a transfer family, and then there's data sync. AWS DataSync, right? It also uses online mode to transfer your data, to move your data to AWS or from AWS. Now, in this among those four, we're going to be focusing on DataSync today, right? Then for offline data transfer, of course, when you see something is online, when you see something is offline, it means that you're not using the internet for it if it is offline. So offline data transfer mode are services that helps you to move your data to and from AWS without using the internet, which means that there will be a physical device, right? So there's only one AWS service that is an offline data transfer service, which is AWS Snow, the Snow family. And we're going to be looking into that going into the class today. Then the last one is hybrid storage. Remember I said the hybrid storage is it has capacity to act as a uh, data transfer or a data storage service, right? And there's two: the Snowball Edge, which is also belongs to the Snowball family, and then there's the AWS Storage Gateway. So here we're going to be focusing on the storage gateway for the hybrid storage. Okay, so let's start digging into them one by one. So, like I said, for the online data transfer, we're going to be looking at AWS Data Sync. So, what is AWS Data Sync? Hope I am not too fast. I don't want to come back to the chat and say that somebody has said, "Yeah, you're too fast." Too. So I'm going to try and take it as jelenke as I can this evening. So hope I'm not too fast. Hope this space is fine. Hope we understood all I've said so far. Not too fast. All right. Okay. Thank you very much, Debbie. Okay, so uh all right, thank you, Happy. My slide have disappeared. Okay, I found my slide back. All right, so AWS Data Sync. It is a secure online service that automates and accelerates moving data between on-premises and AWS storage services. So if you're looking for something that automates and then it also speeds up, right, moving your data between your on-prem to AWS or from your AWS to your on-prem, then data sync is your go-to service. Then remember, it is also what, an online data transfer service, which means that it uses the internet, or you have a direct connection to AWS. A use case for it is that it's great for ongoing transfers or regular syncs between your data center and AWS. Like, that example I was giving, as to if you have a data maybe in your uh system right now, right, and then you want a station where you want to be backing it up to AWS, right, but you want it to be regular. You want it to be something that is happening on a regular basis, right? You can use data sync. So it just automates the process. Once you have set it up, it will be automatically, moving the data between your on-prem and your AWS environment. And it's just like if you have an S3 bucket, we say S3 bucket is your data storage, right? If you want to store something to S3 bucket, of course, there's the option for you to be uploading those things one by one to S3. But an organization will probably have more data, right? Which means that they cannot be uploading one by one to S3 buckets. So they will need something that would automate the process. And once they just set it up, it would move the data by itself, right? And then they will just be monitoring it. So AWS Data Sync, it transfers. Oh, I forgot to add here. It makes use of agents, right? We'll see that in the architecture. I think that should be in the next slide. It transfers up to 10 gigabytes per second per agent. So the way it works is that you input or you download an AWS Data Sync agent to the on-premises server. Maybe your laptop, for example, you download it to your laptop, right? And then that agent will now be the one to kind of build a connection between your on-prem server and the AWS environment. Now that agent can has a bandwidth, right, of 10 gigabytes per second. It can transfer up to 10 gigabytes per second. Remember that chart we showed the other time, which means that if you had a 1 terabyte of data, right, to probably take how many hours according to our table. So it transfers up to 10 gigabyte per second per agent. It's a simple data movement to S3 or EFS. So you can use it to move data from either from your on premises to either S3 or to EFS. Remember, EFS is our elastic um, file system, right? So, which is also a storage service. Then the third attribute of data sync is that it is secure and it is reliable, which means it will encrypt your data during transfer. It will encrypt your data during transfer, which means that at the point of transferring your data from your on-prem to the to the your storage services in AWS. Remember, it's been going over the internet, right? Which means that anybody can actually hijack it or hack into it, into your data and see your data, but it encrypts your data while moving it. So that means even if somebody is able to see that, oh, this person is moving data, they're not able to read what it is that you're actually sending. We have talked about encryption before. Mr. Moses did a very awesome job teaching us about encryption some times ago. So data sync is secure, it is reliable, it is cloud integrated, of course, right? And it is cost effective. All right. So how does data sync work? How does it work? You get the agent. It's called an agent, right? You download the agent from AWS, right? And then you can download that agent to uh your on premises server, or maybe you want to even move data from one maybe from S3 to EC2 or whatever. You can create an EC2, launch an EC2 system, right? And then um, deploy the agent, the data sync agent on that EC2 instance. So whatever it is, that is your choice, right? So if you're moving from on-prem, you deploy the agent on your on-prem server, your local server, right? Then when you have this is your on-prem system, right? This is your file system. This is your file system in your on-premises server. This is the data sync agent. Now, the data sync agent is going to make use of what you call it, transport layer, um, TLS, right? Which is basically HTTPS is also one of the protocols on that TLS. So it makes use of that to move your data. So this is AWS region here. You have your AWS Data Sync console in the AWS environment. You'd have gone there, you'd have gone to go and download the agent or follow the instruction to download the agent for your particular server. When you have downloaded it, the agent will be on your on-prem server, and then the agent will now be moving data to what? To your data sync, and data sync will be moving it to any storage service that you want to move data to, be it S3 or your Elastic file system, right? So it is fully managed service that can scale to send or receive data from agents. By now, I'm sure we are used to the word scale, right? So scale means no matter the amount of data that you have, there's nothing like, oh, sorry, data sync cannot transfer this amount of data. It can't transfer any amount of data. So if it's small data you have, that it grows to become big. Now, also note that what it is a two-way traffic, which means you can also use it to be sending data from AWS to your on-prem. So it is a two-way traffic. It's a bi-directional data transfer service. So it is optimized to read and to write to S3 and EFS using the AWS IAM and the VPC endpoint. So those are the things that you need. Of course, you know that for anything you're doing in AWS, you need some IAM permissions, right? So you need your IAM roles that you attach to it that will allow the data sync to be able to communicate to the S3 bucket that you want to put your data in, basically. All right, so this is still basically another explanation just in case. So you deploy the agent and then connect it to your AWS account. Now that agent, usually when you deploy it, let's say for example you are deploying to your, maybe your system is your on-prem server. That's where the data is. It will require you to have this amount of space, right? It will require that you have this amount of space free on your system. 32 gig memory, and a computing power of 4 vCPU, right? So this is what it's required. This is one of the requirements for your on-prem server for you to be able to deploy these agents on your system. So after you have deployed the agent, you go to your AWS Data Sync console, right, in your AWS environment. You are going to go and create a task. You create a task. Now, when you are creating that task, it's going to ask you for where the data is sitting, right? Maybe like a directory. It's going to ask you for the type of data, the type of storage protocol, be it a block or file. So it can be SMB, it can be NFS, it can be FSX. There are different protocols. Please do not worry your head about it. Right. So you create a task. While creating the task, you're going to configure your storage location and then other options that is going to ask you to fill up. So once you've done that, once you've created the task, you start the task. So starting the task means that you are starting that agent, you are giving that agent that is in the on-prem environment to say go. You can start moving data now. So once you start the task, the data sync will start moving data to your AWS environment, and then there's usually something that would show you your CloudWatch will help you to monitor what has been sent so far, how it is going, what is the progress is like. which ones was sent, which one was not sent, right? So it's you can monitor the progress of your data transfer from the AWS console using Amazon CloudWatch, right? So of course, there are other ways of also managing and monitoring. You use your CloudWatch, like I explained earlier, your CloudWatch log to track the data movement. Then you can control and audit with the AWS IAM and CloudTrail. Remember that CloudTrail was the one that was said helps you to know who is doing what and when they did it, what they used to do it, which location they were doing it from, right? So for audit purposes, you can always use these services to actually audit the data sync to know which data was moved, how did they move it, who moved it, what was the location of the person, right? All of those things. Then data sync is also PCI DSS compliant. PCI DSS is one of the compliance needs for financial institutions. The full meaning is Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard. So these are some of the regulatory bodies that govern the financial industry, especially the payments industries, right? So PCI DSS compliant. Now, why is it important to state this? It's important because if a bank, for example, wants to move their data, right, they need to be sure that so that one the auditor will not come and say, oh, you moved your data to AWS. Was their service compliant with our rules and regulation? And then you now say, I did not know, sorry, and then they will fine you. So to prevent that, AWS already has some of these bodies. They've been audited. These bodies have stamped them to say these people are compliant. So which means that you can always pitch this service to a financial institution organization to say, oh, this service is actually compliant with PCI DSS. So it's safe for you to move your data using data sync. And IPA is the one that guides healthcare industry, right? That says they should protect patient health informations, right? So it is also IPA compliant. All right, so that is all about data sync for now. Is there any question? Okay. Uh, okay. Happy said, what do I mean by agent? So, let me see. How can I explain that in a way that will be sweet? So it's like, mm, okay. Let's use this example. Let's say, for example, right, you have a warehouse, right? You have a warehouse that you have your goods stored in. Now, you want to move goods from your warehouse maybe into a truck that you have parked outside, right? Maybe a customer has ordered for a large sum of goods, right? Or so you need to move that data, right? So now you can do two things. You can decide to manually be moving the data and the your goods, maybe each carton somebody will carry, go and put, somebody will carry, go and put in the truck, right? Until you carry the total number that is needed. That's an option. Another option is to maybe have a device like maybe an automated bridge, right? That will be connected to the warehouse and the truck, right? So what will happen is the thing will be taking the data the carton by itself and moving it into the truck, right? So that thing, that middleman, right, the middle object that is in your warehouse, it does not belong to your warehouse, right? It is there to help you move goods to the truck automatically, right? So make the process seamless for you so that you're not walking to and from the truck, right? So it's just moving it. So that thing, that's middleman, that's middle agent, right? Or service or tool, whatever it might be, right? Is can be called an agent. So an agent is something that you is like a software, right, that you deploy in your own environment. It's it's so that it can help connect to the AWS environment. It is usually called agents, right? Agent is the name. It's not like agent like Olokpa or CIA people. No. So it's basically saying that this is something that is here to. It's not supposed to be for you. It's not a part of your server. It is a part of that thing that is supposed to help you move your data basically. Happy, do you understand, or do you want me to explain um with something else? Hmm? Happy, are we good? Should I help you? Should I explain with something else? An agent is basically the middle person, right? The middle man between where your data is and where the data needs to be. Okay, all right, all right. Okay, so thank you, Happy. So let's any other question relating to data sync before we move to Snow Family? Okay, so I'll take it that there's no question. All right, so let's move on to offline data transfer. Like I had said earlier, right? Offline data transfer is basically transfer that does not need internet, right? So it is done physically. So the AWS service that offers that kind of a offline data transfer service is called the AWS Snow Family. Now, what is the AWS Snow Family? They are physical devices, which means they are devices that you can hold, you can see it with your eyes, right? You can carry it. So they are physical devices that you use when you have a lot of data to move, but you have a lot of data to move, but you don't have a very good internet, or to be paying for internet connection that is going to help you move it is expensive, right? So you use these physical devices to move those kind of data. Now, these devices, they have what they call a ruggedized case, right? Which means that they are built to be durable. They are built to be durable. So it's not like anything happened to it, it will just crash. For our laptop hard disk, for example, if your hard disk should fall down, you'll be scared because all the data on it they can goes. It might not work again, right? But these devices have actually been made in a way that it is rugged. You don't just they call them that they are tamper proofed, right? So they are tamper proofed. Then also they can efficiently move data by physically shipping the hardware with your data to a specified AWS region, where your data will be put into your specified Amazon S3 bucket. So all these plenty things I've said, what it basically means is that, let's say I am ABC Limited, right? My company as ABC Limited, we have about 50 terabytes of data. We have 50 terabytes of data. And I've seen that our bandwidth, our internet connection bandwidth is probably 100 megabytes per second, right? So that we will not become grandpa and grandmas before we'll get our data into S3, right? What are we going to do? We'll just reach out to AWS and say, okay, AWS, so we have 50 terabyte of data that we want to move from ABC's limited on premises server into ABC's limited S3 in their AWS environment, right? So what AWS would do is that they would ship that device, right? They will ship any of the Snow device depending on what you need it for. We'll look at the different type of the Snow devices in a bit. So they will ship that device to ABC Limited. When the device gets to ABC Limited, right, the device is basically like an hard disk, right? So ABC Limited will connect that device to their on-prem server, transfer all the data into that device, right? Because this time around they'll be using cord, right? It's just like you're connecting your hard disk to your laptop with your USB cord. So that kind of a scenario. So they will connect the device to their on-prem server, transfer all the data they want to transfer into that device. Then they will now send the data back to AWS. Now, remember that we said that our AWS region is basically a data center, right? Somewhere in the world. So if you say, oh, my S3 is sitting in North Virginia region, what it basically means is that your S3 bucket is sitting on a server in a data center in North Virginia. That's the simple meaning. So ABC has probably created an S3 bucket in North Virginia. So after they've moved their data from their on-prem into that Snow device, right, they will now ship that device back to AWS. They'll ship the device back to AWS. Now, an AWS personnel will now carry that device, go to the exact server where the S3 bucket is sitting in that data center in that North Virginia, and then use a cord or a port, right, to transfer the data into that specific place. Do we understand? Did I just speak gibberish or is it understood? Yes, like a cable, exactly. Do you understand all that grammar that I just spoke now? Or should I come again? Okay, I should recap. All right. So I said the AWS Snow devices, right? They are physical devices. And the way it works, that's me explaining number three now, right? Okay. So the way it works is that, let's say I am the CTO, right, for Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola is an organization. Now, Coca-Cola they've created an S3 bucket, right? S3 bucket is a storage service, right? So where they want to be storing their data, right? But at the moment, they already have some data in their on-premises server, the server that is sitting in Coca-Cola's compound. They have 50 terabytes of data sitting inside their own server in Coca-Cola's compound in Nigeria. Now, they want to move this 50 terabytes of data to AWS S3. Now, they can decide that, oh, we can use AWS DataSync, which is what we discussed earlier, right? And transfer the data via the internet. No problem. That is an option. But the issue now is what? They have slow network. They have very slow bandwidth, right? Maybe their internet will only send they only have a upload bandwidth of 100 megabytes per second. Now, if they are sending 100 megabytes, they are sending something of 50 terabytes with 100 megabytes per second's internet, how long do you think it will take for all of those data to be moved completely to S3? To take a very, very, very long period of time, right? Now, because they cannot afford that very, 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 very long period of time, right? What they would do is they would go to their AWS environment, right? And um, tell AWS, so we have 50 terabyte of data that we want to move. We have already created our S3 bucket, which is why before you even order for your Snow devices, right, you have to have created an S3 bucket. So AWS, we have created an S3 bucket already in our AWS environment. So Coca-Cola has a S3 bucket called Coca-Cola bucket. right, in AWS environment. Now, they now want to move the 50 terabyte of data that is in Coca-Cola environment in Nigeria to the Coca-Cola bucket in AWS environment, but they don't have the internet speed to be able to use data sync. So what AWS will do is that AWS will now send a physical device, like a physical hard disk, right? This physical hard disk, like we said, is rugged. They've been designed that they are tamper proof, right? Nothing can just shake it and disturb the data that is inside it. So AWS will send the device to Coca-Cola here in Nigeria. Now Coca-Cola will take this device and use a cable to connect it to their on-premises server, and then transfer the 50 petabyte of data to the device. After they finish sending all that data to the device, they will now carry the device and ship it back to AWS. They will ship the device back to AWS. Now, when the device gets back to AWS with Coca-Cola's data in it, an AWS personnel will now see, okay, where did Coca-Cola put their buckets? In which region is it? Let's say, for example, the region is in South African region. That's where their S3 bucket is sitting in AWS environment. And we have said before that a region or an availability zone is basically a data center sitting in one geographical location. So which means that a South Africa region means that there are data centers that are in South Africa, that are physically present in different locations in South Africa, right? So what the AWS personnel will now do is take that device that Coca-Cola sent back to them with Coca-Cola's data inside it. We take that device to the specific region that Coca-Cola created their S3 bucket. For example, we said South Africa, right? So the AWS personnel will carry that device to South Africa and go to the data center where their device, their S3 bucket is sitting, and then use a cable to connect to that device and transfer the data rather into Coca-Cola's bucket. And then once that is done, they will erase the data from that disk. Is that understood now? Do we get the explanation now? I'm still going to, there's still something that will probably show us more explanation in the front chapel. Do we get it now? Is it a lot to take in? Or maybe you're okay. Is it okay? You understand now, or okay? Maybe we shall see. Okay, understood. All right. Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. So, another attribute is that the Snow devices uses an innovative e-ink shipping label, right? So for you to be able to track the devices, there's something that they call e-ink shipping label that is attached to every Snow device. So that by the time you have AWS have sent the device, right, you can be tracking where it is. You can be tracking the movement of it till it will get to you. The same thing when you send it back to AWS, AWS can also be tracking the movement. You too, you can be tracking it. So this e-ink shipping label helps for easy end-to-end tracking from AWS to the customer, from the customer back to AWS. That's end to end, right? So it's what it is, the e-ink shipping label that allows for this end to end tracking to take place, right? And it's also help with automatic label update so that the device is sent to the correct AWS facility. It's just like when you are sending a good, right? If you are sending something abroad, for example, right, maybe to America, and then you're putting it in a plane that is probably going to first stop in another country before it will get to America. You put the name of the person that is receiving it. You put the particular country of the person. You put the particular address so that it will not be mixed up. That's the same way. It's just the same way the shipping label is. So if, for instance, like we said, Coca-Cola created their S3 bucket in South Africa region, right? It means that on that device that they are sending, the shipping label, the e-ink shipping label will be carrying not South Africa region. So that by the time Coca-Cola is sending it back, they will not go and send it to North Virginia. They will send it to what? To South Africa direct. So that's what the e-ink shipping label is for. Then once the migration job is done, once AWS have collected the device back, they have put your data into S3. When they put your data into S3, you will go into S3 from Nigeria, right, through the AWS console. You will now go and check your S3 bucket, check all the data that is there, verify that your data is complete, right? If it is 50 terabyte of data that you put in the device from Nigeria, by the time AWS is putting it into your S3, when you are going to verify, you must verify that 50 terabyte of data and not no one bay. That is exactly what is there. So after the job has been completed, and completion is after you have verified it, right? What AWS will do is they would now perform a secure software erasure, which means they would erase the Snow device. Because an organization can ask you that, so if I put my data now in AWS device, will anybody not be able to now access it later? People not be using my data to be doing whatever, right? AWS would erase every data, every of your data. Once you have verified that every of your data is now sitting in your S3 bucket, so you no longer need the hard disk. So they will perform what we call in layman language, they will flash the device, right? Which means they will erase every of your information from that device. They will erase it. So it is after that data has been erased, that is when your job, that is when that particular job is what is completed. Now, let me quickly rush through this before we take our attendance in 2 minutes. There are different type of snow devices. Number one is the snow cone. Now, snow cone is the smallest of the snow family, right? It can fit into a backpack. It is built for storage and edge computing, which means that you can also deploy or launch an EC2 instance, right, using this device. So it is built for storage and edge computing. It is the smallest. It's like a hard disk. If you can see the size, it's just like a hard disk, right? We are going to look at the attribute of all of them properly going forward. This is the second member of the family. It is called Snowball. There used to be Snowball and Snowball Edge, but now it's been rounded up to Snowball Edge. So Snowball Edge, as you can see, it is bigger than the snow cone, right? It has a compute optimized and a storage optimized option. So when you are asking AWS for the device, you can select which one you want, whether it is a compute optimized or a storage optimized Snowball Edge that you want. Then the last one is the Snow Mobile. Snow Mobile is known as the world's largest hard disk. It is basically an hard disk that is sitting on an 18 wheeler truck. This is Snow Mobile. So this entire thing at the back of it is an hard disk, so to say, right? That you can use to transfer data. Now they don't just use send this thing out. This is to go and collect data of about exabytes quantity or size, right? So if you have something like an exabytes data, here you can use this the Snow Mobile, right? So it is known as the world largest hard disk. Although unfortunately, as at this year, it has been discontinued. So as at this year, they no longer use the Snow Mobile. So as at this moment, you only have two members of the Snow family now left: the Snow Cone and the Snowball Edge. All right. So it is 8 o'clock on the dot. TA, can we go for our attendance now? Let's go for a break. So while we are going for our attendance, Any questions so far on the Snow family? Hope this is understood. Shoyewa, Biko Yewa, Oyewa. What is Igbo for understood? Inugo is have you heard? Or did you hear? I don't know. Well, hope we understand so far. Please let's go for let's fill our attendance now, and then we'll come back to look at the rests of the family. Can we still hear me, please? Let me. Okay. Oh God! Oh, wait, say yes, mommy. Away. Okay. All right. So let's fill our attendance. Okay. So I'm correct. Thank you, Happy. Thanking you. Yes, we are on break for attendance. So I think we usually use 5 minutes, and I think I gave us the break by 8:01. So let's say we have about 3 4 minutes left. So by 8, okay, let's say 8:07. By 8:07 would reconvey. You can use this opportunity to stretch your leg, to go and drink water, to quickly reply message, to quickly um what's the word now? Deliberate, meditate on the things that you have been taught this evening. Amen. Amen. So whatever it is you can do in 4 minutes, please. So but make sure that filling the attendance is part of it. Thank you, Levina. Thank you, Esther. Levina, you have eaten. Now, now, now. Now, now. 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 Uh Tina, no, we're not going to be teaching you SQL. We're not going to be teaching you SQL in that light. No, we mentioned SQL when we're talking about databases, right? Because that's what you use to query structured databases, like your RDS for MySQL or PostgreSQL or MS SQL, right? So, or even Oracle. Yeah. So we're not going to be teaching about the SQL code. That is for data analysis and data science students. They are the ones that are going to be majoring in that. So no, SQL is not part of what we're covering. Levina, you're eating, you're not sharing the food. There is God. God will judge. Okay. Hope we're filling our attendance. 2 more minutes to go. Uh, Tina, SQL is for those doing data analysis. In cloud computing, you don't necessarily need it, except you are what are they calling it? Except you want to specialize in the data, you want to become a specialized, data analyst in the cloud, right? And for that, it means that you're already doing data analysis. So even in data analysis, they will not jump to just teaching you SQL. There are things that they would have taught you ahead of time before they jump into SQL, right? So yes, SQL is a query language, is a coding language, so to say. So it is you don't need it as a you don't need it in cloud computing. You don't need it as a cloud engineer or or cloud architect. You don't need it in that sense. Levina, I have ordered my food. If I don't get that food, Levina, if I do not get that food, just be ready to see me in your dream. Exactly. They would have taught you Excel, they would have taught you Power BI, right, before SQL. You should, yeah, they would have taught you all of those things. Sure, for some people, right, some data analysts might not even use SQL. Majorly, it is database administrators that usually use SQL a lot. Database administrators, they're the ones that really, really use SQL. Okay, it is 8:07. 8:07. 8:07. All right, are we all back? Can we get a I am back if you are back? Levina, the food is on the cloud. The food is on the cloud. Which device will you use to transfer it to me now? DataSync or a Snow device? Which one? Continue. God is looking at you in 3D. All right, so Debbie said she will use code. You use code to send it. It's a finish. No problem. Okay, let's go. Let's continue our class. All right, welcome back. Welcome back. Akonde. Welcome back, Happy Snow Cone. Maybe I'm watching you. Yes, Jumoke, you say you have a question. Okay, let me quickly take your question, Jumoke, before we continue. Jumoke, I'll be looking out for your question. But while you're typing, I think we should just move on. So when I say it out, I would respond to the question. All right, so we've talked about the different snow devices and said there's snow cone, there's snowball edge, and then there's snow mobile. Please note that Snow Mobile is no longer in use as at this moment AWS has discontinued it. So you cannot see Snow Mobile again. So you can only hear of Snow Cone and Snowball Edge. Now, what's the comparison between these devices? So I didn't put Snow Mobile in this comparison because we're no longer, it is discontinued, so there's no point discussing it anymore. So the snowball edge, right? They have their, like I mentioned, there are two different types of it. There's the storage optimized, and then there's the edge optimized. There's the storage optimized, and then there's the edge optimized, right? So difference between the snow cone, the uh give me a minute. Okay, so where's my slide? Okay, I've seen my slide. All right, so the AWS Snow Cone. Remember, Snow Cone is the smallest in the family. Snowball Edge is it has the, both of them can be used for computing, right? So it's not just storage. Let's say, for example, which is one of the use cases of the Snow family devices, right? Is if you have like a research institute, let's say a group of scientists are trying to work on the cure to cancer, right? So they have a research institute somewhere inside one very, 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 very remote village somewhere that there's no network. MTN did not reach there. There's no Starlink. There's nothing, right? And but they need to create servers. They need to be able to test run the solutions that they are developing and all of those things. But where they are, there's no internet, there's nothing. So this snowball edge can also be moved to them for them to use for computing purposes, which means that they can launch instances on these devices as well. All they need to do is connect it. So it has that capability. That is why it is both a computing device and a storage device. Now for difference, uh, so as not to be confused, HDD storage and SDD storage are basically the storage space uh, in the device or your server, right? It can be HDD, it can be SSD. SSD is the newest model. If you check some laptops, they'll tell you that it has maybe 12 gig HDD storage and then maybe 4 gig SSD storage, right? So it's basically the newer version. It runs things faster. Basically, it is much more optimized, right? It's it's much more optimized. It's a laptop that has SSD storage would spin up fast. If you on it within seconds, it has come up smiling at you and telling you hello, right? But HDD might take a longer time, right? Because it's kind of old school, so it is slower than the SSD, right? So uh, that is the difference between HDD and SSD. So Snow Cone has 8 terabytes of HDD storage. It has 8 terabytes. Remember, we said it is the portable device. Not again this night. I was hoping I was going to go through the night without sneezing. Mm, okay, we're back by the grace of God. All right, so Snowcone has 8 terabytes HDD storage, while Snowball Edge. Now, the Snowball Edge um also has the storage optimized as two different types. There's the 80 terabytes type, and then there's the 210 terabytes size, right? So Snowcone is 8 terabytes HDD. The Snowball Edge that has there's the 80 terabyte HDD one. For the 210 terabytes, it does not have HDD storage. For the edge, the compute optimized one, when I say compute optimized, it means that it is much more tailored for computing purposes than for storage purposes. It means they need more computing power. Remember when we were talking about EC2 instance family and we said some of them are compute optimized, some of them are storage optimized, right? So this is the same thing. So for Snow Cone, it has 14 terabyte of SSD storage, while the 80 terabytes storage optimized Snowball Edge has 1 terabyte, right? So then the for the Snowball storage optimized 210 terabytes, it does not have HDD storage, but it has 210 terabytes SSD storage, right? So then for the compute optimized Snowball Edge, it has 28 terabytes. That's 28 terabytes. For usable vCPU in the Snow Cone, of course, because it is small, there's limited stuff. So it only has capability of 2 vCPU and 4 gig RAM. While the Snowball Edge 80 terabytes storage optimized is 40 vCPU, so it can take up to 40 vCPU and 80 gig RAM. The 210 terabytes is 104 vCPU, 416 gig RAM, right? Still having 210 terabyte of storage. Then the size, right? In terms of weight, the snow cone is about 201 kg, which means it's light. It's not very heavy. It's not. It's not heavy. That's just it. It's not heavy, right? It's just 201 kg. Something you can put in your backpack and carry. Something you can put in your handbag and be moving about. Nobody will know that you are carrying anything. While for the snowball edge, um, both the whichever one, whether it is storage optimized or it is edge compute optimized, they are all 2.3 kg. They are all about 22.3 kg. um does he allow for encryption of data? Yes. So even for these snow devices, your data is also going to be encrypted. your your data will be encrypted. Is it HIPAA compliant? Remember we talked about the HIPAA compliance show for healthcare. For the snow cone, it is not HIPAA compliant. So an healthcare organization cannot call you and say, "Oh, we want to move our data, or we need one of the snow devices." Don't advise them to use snow cone, because snow cone is not HIPAA compliant, right? So it's not um following some of the rules and regulation of HIPAA, right? But the snowball edge follows it, so it is eligible for HIPAA, basically. Now, how does the Snow family work? Let me see. As Jumoke sent that question, Levina, what are you typing? It is well with you, Levina, this night. God is watching you. Continue. All right. Okay, Jumoke, your question. Uh, is the cost of offline data transfer not higher than online data transfer with all the activities involved? Well, it's dependent. Let's say, for example, a company that has 100 and or maybe 100 petabytes of data, depending on the size, right? Remember, that's also a factor. If a company has 100 petabytes of data, how long do you think they'll be able to wait for? Even if they have a internet speed of 100 gig per second, it will still take days, right? It's just like if you're sending something with a cord connected from your phone to your laptop and you're using a cord, you find out that the transfer is usually faster than when you're sending either with Bluetooth, or you're even sending maybe with sender, right? Usually faster with cord. If it would take Zender maybe 2 minutes to be able to transfer a data of about maybe 15 MB, for example, just as example, if it take Zender 2 minutes, if you are using a code, it will take less than 1 minute, right? So some of the reasons why this offline mode are usually recommended are for companies that have very, very, very large data, and their internet connection is not fast enough to give them within the time frame that they need it, right? Now, for the Snow devices, there are days attached to it. There are number of days because you pay per the day that it is off AWS, right? So you're paying per day, and that's what we're going to look at now in this slide that we are currently in. Okay. Um, all right. People should leave Levina this night. I will bite her. Okay, so let's continue with our class. All right. So how does it work, right? So you go to your AWS console, your AWS management console. You will go and click on go to the Snow uh family service, right? When you get there, you see something about create a job. So creating a job means a job can be for a job. You can create more than one job. Let's say you are creating one job for maybe Coca-Cola in Nigeria, you are creating another job for Coca-Cola in South Africa, dependent, just as an example. So you create a job. A job is what notifies AWS that, oh, you need this thing. So when you create that job, right, you use what is called AWS Ops Hub to manage multiple Snow family devices. Now, you select which of the devices you want, whether it's a snow cone or snowball. Remember, the choice of this either of these two is dependent on the amount of data you also want to transfer. Say for example now, right, if you are transferring 50 terabyte of data, right, you will not go and choose snow cone because snow cone does not have that size. Snow cone only has eight can only contain 8 terabytes of data, right? Okay, let's say plus the 14 terabytes. So let's just say about 22 terabytes of data, right? That's what it can contain. But if you need something that's you want to send 50 terabyte of data, of course it's the snowball edge you're going to choose, right? Because it can contain more. So you choose whether it is snow cone or snowball edge that you want. Once that happens, you transfer, after the device has gone from you to AWS or whatever, you transfer the data from uh your own premises, right, to the device, and then transfer the data into your S3 bucket. That is after the movement between Nigeria and South Africa has taken place, for example. Then once it is uploaded into your S3, remember that secure erasure thing I was talking about. Your data is erased after you have verified that your data is complete in your S3 bucket, right? So your data is erased. Now, this is kind of a timeline, right? Between when you create the job, right, and when it is shipped to you, it takes about 2 to 4 days, right? So it takes about 2 to 4 days for you to create, when you create the job on AWS management console, right? You said, okay, I need this device. You selected, okay, it's snow cone that I need, or it's snowball edge. For it to be shipped to you to take 2 to 4 days. Now, after it has been shipped, right, it will take another 1 to 2 days for it to what, to be delivered to you. There's difference between when you have shipped something. You have shipped means I've already given the courier company that will then deliver it. The ship might not leave the port immediately, right? But within, after it has been shipped, after the ship has probably left, it will take 1 to 2 days for it to what, to be delivered to you. And it does not mean that it's ship that they are using. It's most likely they're probably using flights, right? So to be delivered to you in 1 to 2 days, that's delivered to your exact location in 1 to 2 days. Now, the number of days it will take for you to transfer that data into the device, right, is dependent on the size of the data, right, and how fast the data is moving. So let's say, for example, if you are sending, just as an example, if you are sending 5 MB of data, it will go in seconds, compared to if you are sending 2 gig of data, it will take some minutes before it will send, right? Even if you are using cable. So the same thing. So the number of days it would take between when it has been delivered to you and when you are sending it back, sending the data back to AWS, right, would is 1 to n days. N means it can be any number of days depending on the size of the data you're transferring, the speed of it. Then between when it is sent to AWS and when AWS would help you transfer that data into your S3 bucket, right, is another 1 to 2 days. So you sent it back to AWS, right? It means it's going to the particular region. Let's say South Africa. To take 1 to 2 days for it to get to South Africa, then the personnel has carried it and then they are putting it into your S3 bucket. They are uploading the data into your S3 bucket, right? To take 1 to 2 days. Then between when they've ingested the data to when the job is completed. Now, your job is completed after you have verified that all your data is what is inside your S3 bucket and they have erased your data. They've erased your data from the Snow device. That is when your job is completed. So that can take from 1 day to any number of days, depending on when you have ascertained that your data is completed, or is complete rather. Okay, so do we understand Snow Family? Uh, Happy say you're not following. Ooh, sorry, I didn't see your message. Oh, where do you want me to go over again, Happy? You want me to re-explain this workflow, Abby? Okay, all right. So, Happy, which one do you want me to explain? This workflow. I should go over this workflow again. Uh, I'm saying yes and I'm saying no. I'm confused. Happy, do you want me to go over this workflow again, or it is understood? Uh, mm, I'm not seeing our responses. Oh, can we still hear me, please? Okay, all right, Teteri, thank you. Okay, I'm guessing Happy is probably typing what she wants to ask. All right, so pending when Happy types, right, I'll just explain this workflow again. So let's try and follow. So it's like you're using a delivery service, right? You are selling let's say you're a tailor, right? You're a tailor, you've made a dress for a customer, right? Now, for the customer to fit that dress, you have to send the clothes to the customer's house first, right? The customer will fit it, right? And then send it back to you and say, okay, make adjustment here, make adjustment there, blah blah blah. Right. So for you to send the service, you are using a delivery company. Now, with that delivery company, you have to create a job. Let's say they have an application where you will say, I want to deliver something. You will create a delivery job. Now, that is, you go to AWS Management Console and go and create a job on the Snow Family. So when you create the job, right, the delivery service will now ask you, which of these device do you need though, customer? Is it snow cone or snowball edge? You now say, okay, it's snowball edge that I need because I'm sending 50 terabyte of data and snow cone can only take 8 terabyte of data, right? So once you have selected what you need, now AWS will now ship that snowball device, right, to you in Nigeria. Let's assume that they are sending it from America, for example. They will now send it to you here in Nigeria, a physical device. So between when you go to the delivery company in quotes, right, the delivery company's application that you created a job, after you have gone to go and you selected that, please, I want you to help me send this dress, right? It will take 2 to 4 days for them to send that dress now, snowball edge, to you, right? They'll send it to you. So sorry, they'll ship it to you, which means that you have put it in the you have used GIG, right? You've put the dress in GIG, you filled all the details. Once you've done that, in their GIG app, it's already showing that what it's going to be shipped to what, to the customer, right? Now, between when it has been shipped to you and when they will actually deliver it to the customer, right? When they will deliver this snowball edge, it's a physical device. When they will deliver it to the customer, we take another 1 to 2 days. So after it has been delivered to you, remember, it's like, maybe I should not have used a dress. Let's say you're doing last born things, right? You're doing beggy beggy as a last born. So you sent a bag or uh or I'm trying to look for the perfect example. Yes, thank God. Thank you, the Spirit. You are a student, you have finished school, you have finished your university, or your, let's say university. Now you want to move your load from your hostel to the house, right? To your parents' house. You want to move it from your hostel to your parents' house. Now you call your parents. Calling your parents is you creating a job. You call your parent and say, I'm done with school, oh. Or you call your firstborn and say, I'm done with school, oh. Me, I cannot be carrying load up and down. Please send a truck that will come and carry all my loads. right? The size of the truck they will send will be dependent on the size of the load that you have in school. If it is only 2 Ghana must go, they can send a keke maruwa, because the keke maruwa can carry your 2 Ghana must go, right? But if you have a lot of load, you are carrying bed, you are carrying fan, you are carrying washing machine, because I mean you're the last born, so they spoil you very well. You have all these plenty things in your campus house where you're staying. So you call your parents, right? I need a truck to move my load. That is creating the job. Now your parents say, okay, right? So they'll get the truck, and then they'll ship the truck to you. Between when you called your parents and when the they finally get a good truck that will fit, and everything to send to you, to take about 2 to 4 days. Now, when the truck has, maybe your parents are in London, right? The truck has landed in Nigeria. Between when that truck has landed and when it's going to get to your house, gone in Akungba, Akure, for example, it's going to take another 1 to 2 days. Now, when that truck gets to you, what will happen? You have to load that truck with all your load, right? With all your things that you want to move to your parent house, isn't it? So you put in all the load. That is the same thing as when it gets to you, you transfer all the data from your on-prem server. Your on-prem server is what? Is your hostel that you are in now. The data are the loads that you are moving. So you put all those load, you put them into the truck. Same thing for on-prem. For your data, you move the data from your on-prem into that snowball device, right? That's AWS sent to you, into the truck that your parents sent to you. So after you have put that load, right, you need to send the truck back to your parents, right? You send the truck back to your parents' house. So between when you have put the load into AWS, right, the number of days it will take between when the truck got to you and when you are sending it back to AWS, right, is going to be dependent on the amount of load that you have, right? If your load is very very plenty, you can say, well, I cannot finish it today, I'll continue tomorrow. It can take 2 days, right? So that's why I say it is dependent on the size of what you are transferring, and the speed. If it's only you that is carrying the load, it might be slower than maybe three more people comes to join you. It becomes faster, right? So you have put the load into the truck, you have sent the truck back to your parents' house. Now, when the truck gets to your parents' house, right, your parents will have to do what? Remove that data. They will remove the data from your load or your property. They will remove it from the truck, right? And then, because you have your own room in your father's house, and that's where you want all your load to be. Remember, as when you are creating the job, you have told them, come and let me carry my load. This is where I also want the load to be put when it gets to you, right? So you have specified where, which is like your S3 bucket, in which region it is sitting, right? So the truck has gotten back to your parents. Your parents will offload your load, and then they will now take it into your room and arrange it in your room. That is ingesting it into AWS, right? Or loaded into your S3 bucket. So they will do what? They will put it into the your room, right? Into, if it's your clothes, they'll put the clothes in the wardrobe, they'll put your washing machine maybe in your bedroom and all of those things. They put all of the load. Now, before you can accept that the job is completed, you have to go and verify that what all the things that you put into that truck, all the load that you put into that truck, is what is inside your room. Now, that is going to be dependent on when you go and determine and say, okay, oh, daddy, I'm back. Or you go to your room, you check the room. Okay, I put 4 pieces of cloth. The 4 pieces of cloth is there. I put one microwave. The microwave is there. One washing machine. The washing machine is there. It is when you confirm to your father that all of the load that you put in the truck is in your room. That is when the job is completed. And then your parents can now go and wash the truck. Does that explanation make sense? Does this explanation make sense? Do we all understand this workflow now? Okay. Okay. All right. So, glory to God. All right, let's get into the last one. We'll not be dwelling plenty on this last one. Okay. So, data hybrid data storage. Now, hybrid data storage is something that can be both a storage service and a data transfer service, right? It can be both a storage service and a data transfer service. Now, storage gateway is an hybrid service that combines the element of storage and data transfer, right? It will provide local access to cloud backed storage, acting as an on premises gateway to AWS storage service like S3 and EBS. It facilitates data transfer to and from AWS. Now, what can I use to explain the storage gateway? Let's say, for example, right, um, you sell goods, you sell provisions, right? Now, part of the provisions you sell is maybe Indomie, for example. Now, Indomie has what are they calling it? They have their factory where all of these things is made. They have the major warehouse where after they have made the Indomie, they have a big warehouse where all of the Indomie is stocked, right? Now, you you sell Indomie to people that want to eat in their own house, right? For you to get that Indomie, you cannot be going to AWS what are they calling it now? AWS factory every time. Or you cannot even be going at all. So what Indomie does is what they now have a warehouse that is closer to you that want to come and buy. They have a warehouse. So the warehouse is standing as a gateway. They move the goods, the Indomie from AWS what to the warehouse, and then from the warehouse you can come and get your Indomie. Now, how is it also a storage? Is that the different type of Indomie would be in that warehouse. If, for example, they only had Indomie table and what you want is super pack, right? And it is not available in the warehouse. The people in the warehouse will go to the factory and go and get what? The super pack. They'll get a lot of it. They'll not just get one, they'll get a lot of it. So that next time, if somebody else is coming to get super pack, they will meet it there. So that warehouse becomes a local storage, which means even though it is not the main storage, some things that are coming from the factory are stored locally in that warehouse, so that if you need it you can always come and get. If you need it you can always come and get, right? Now, it is also what, as a means of data transfer, because that warehouse is a means of transferring the Indomie from the Indomie factory warehouse to the end customer. So it is serving as what, as a gateway as well, to help to transfer this data, to be able to transfer these products from the factory, from the on-prem server, which is the Indomie factory, right, to you that you are selling in redemption camp. So it is the middle, is the gateway, is the middle person, so to say. So it facilitates data transfer to and from AWS, making it easier to sync or to back up data to the cloud. Now, storage gateway can be deployed directly in your on-prem environment as a virtual machine, like an agent, the way data sync is, right? Or it can be deployed as an EC2 instance or as a standalone hardware appliance. Now, it also supports different storage protocols. These are different storage protocols, please. You don't have to cram all of them, right? Like NFS, SMB, ISCSI, ISCSI VTL, right? So that existing applications can use this cloud storage without any changes. Now, the storage gateway family have majorly three uh, children. There are three members of the family, so to say. There's a file gateway, there's volume gateway, and then there's tape gateway. Now, file gateway, if you have is files that are in your on-prem environment, right? And you need a storage and a data transfer kind of a thing, like an hybrid kind of thing, right? You would prefer to use the file gateway because what you have is a file system that you want to, transfer. Let's say, for example, file gateway is our indomitable, volume gateway is our super pack, tape gateway is our hungry man. So which means there is a warehouse, right, that their own is only indomitable. So if it is indomitable that you want, you know that it is this particular warehouse that I am going to go and get it, because that's the only type of thing that they store, right? So the same thing, file gateway only deals with what? File based application, right? It only deals with files. While volume gateway, right? Volumes are like your EBS, right? Your elastic block store. They store things in what you call volumes. So volume gateway is for block storage. So if you have a kind of block storage data in your on premises that you need to back up to the cloud, right? You use the volume gateway. So if it is super pack that you want, you will go to super pack warehouse. Then tape gateway. Tape gateway, no, there if we if you have seen these old movies, right, where they store these old movies in a tape kind of way, they use those tapes. Some organizations use a tape kind of storage where their stores are stored in a tape manner, right? So if you want to replace that kind of a structure in your on-prem, you no longer want to be using it, but you need what you are saving to also be in that kind of a way in the cloud, right? You use the tape gateway. So tape gateway is like our hungry man warehouse. If it is hungry man that you want, you go to hungry man warehouse. So these are the three major storage gateway family members: the file gateway, the volume gateway, and the tape gateway. Now, the architecture of the gateway, storage gateway, is what you probably have your application server, you have your user workstation or your backup server on your own premises, right? So what will happen is, remember I said you can deploy the storage gateway just like this data sync, like an agent, like a virtual machine on your on prem. So you deploy that storage gateway here in your on-prem. So the on-prem will be like a warehouse. So any data that is coming from this your factory, it will be coming to this gateway here. To be storing the data, so that in case you want Indomie, you don't have to go all the way to this place. You just walk small to the store, to the warehouse, and get it. Then if you come and say, oh, I need crayfish flavored Indomie, you say, oh, we don't have that yet. It will quickly go to the factory, right, and get it. And then once you get it, to get it in bulk, to get it plenty, so that anytime you come back, you always find it here. So that's what it means to like cache. That's what it means to cache, basically. That's CACHE. So it does that, and then you can also use it to do what? To upload. So this is your AWS environment. You can always use it to upload those data that you're getting from here, from the on-premises server, right, to any of these devices, maybe your S3 bucket or your FSX or your EBS, whatever one, or your Glacier, right? Whatever service you want to move the data to. So it's serving as both a data transfer service and a storage service. It's serving as both a data transfer and a storage service, like a middleman storage service. What is the use case for storage gateway? For migration, right? For backup. If you want to back up and archive data, you can use it, right? If you want to move your on-premises network that has been attached to a particular kind of system, right, you can use it because it has different um, type of gateway that is suited to different purpose. If in your organization you are using file share system, it has a file gateway. You can always use the file gateway. If it is block storage key that you have in your organization, you can always use the volume gateway. If it is a tape kind of system you have in your on-prem, you can use the tape gateway. So that way you are moving your stuff to the cloud without any need to actually change or worry your head as to how will this thing fit in, how will it be compatible. It has things that will be compatible with whatever it is that you have on your on-prem. Now, what is the difference between all of these three things that we have spoken about? Your data sync, your Snow family, and your storage gateway. Use case. You use data sync when you want an automated data transfer. You use data sync when you want an automated data transfer. You use the AWS Snow family, whether it is Snow Cone or it is Snowball Edge. You use it when you have large scale offline data transfer. You use it when you have a large scale offline data transfer. While for AWS Storage Gateway, you use it when you need a hybrid storage solution. When you need a hybrid storage solution. The kind of data for data sync, right? Usually it is files and directories, right? Most times it's usually your files, your directories, things you have on your servers, folders that you have on your servers, and all of those things. For Snow family, it is any type of data, large volumes of data. For storage gateway, it is files, block data, and even data, right? Transfer method for AWS Data Sync, it is online. It uses internet. For Snow family, it is offline, which means there will be a physical device that they will ship to you and you will ship back to AWS. For storage gateway, it also uses online to transfer the data while saving the data locally. That's locally caching it. Like I said, it's getting the Indomie from Indomie factory and putting it there. So that next time you want it. So that's why it is an hybrid storage kind of thing, right? It has both. It can be a storage and it can be a data transfer stuff. Protocol for data sync, it is not applicable. It can use anyone. For Snow family, it doesn't disturb itself with protocol as well because it is physical, right? While for storage gateway, uh, SMB, NFS, on the AISCSI, the setup complexity. How complex is does the setup? How complex is the setup? English is hard. All right. How complex is the setup? For data sync is a simple setup, right? You just have to install the agent right on your AWS, tell it where it's getting data from, and then it will move in. For Snow family, complexity is moderate. It's not very simple like AWS, because I mean you have to be monitoring the device, that device gets to you and all of those things. So it's not as simple as data sync. It is moderate, but it is not too difficult. The same thing applies to the storage gateway. Then performance. Data sync is fast and it is automated. Is fast and automated. For Snow family, it has a very high throughput for large transfer. If you are doing a very large transfer, it still gives you that kind of fast uh feel, right? Transfer rate, transfer speed. Because like I said, it's just like you're connecting your phone with a USB cord to your laptop to transfer data. It's usually faster than when you are sending via the internet or something, depending on the size of the data, of course. Then for storage gateway, it is real time local access, because as it's getting from the factory, right? When you are coming, as factory is updating their own, is going to go and get If factory produces crayfish spice now, the storage gateway is going to go and get crayfish spice and put it in his local in his warehouse, so that you can come and get it anytime that you need it. Security, of course, while your data is being transferred, data sync encrypts your data. For Snow Family, they encrypt the data at rest and in transit. What it means is that while you are transferring the data into the device, your data will be encrypted. After it has entered into the device, your data will still be encrypted, which means that at any point, if for any reason somebody stole your Snow device, they cannot read what is on it. It is going to be encrypted. Same thing with gateway. When it is transferring data, it is also encrypted. 8:52. 8 more minutes to go. All right. So I know it's been a lot to take in, right? But if you can always go back, play the video over and over again till you understand. If you don't grab everything tonight, don't beat yourself up, right? Some of us did not get it at the first hand, so we have to read again, listen again before we got it. Right. So don't beat yourself up. These are resources you can use to help your understanding. Any questions before we go to our knowledge check? Any questions so far before we go to knowledge check for today? And let's see if I can meet my target of finishing 9 o'clock on the dot. No, yes to which one? Should we take our knowledge check, or is there question? There's question, just say question. If you want us to go to our knowledge check, just type knowledge check so I know which one we're saying yes to. Question. Okay. Anna, what's your question? Okay, Deborah says knowledge check. Happy, please type your question. Please type your question. Okay, so let me give 30 seconds for Happy to type a question so that we can go to our knowledge check fast, 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 fast. We have 6 more minutes and we have 5 questions. Knowledge check. All right, so Happy, you can type your question down, right? And then after the knowledge check, this is time I would answer you. I will answer your question. Okay, so let's go to our knowledge check then. Question 1. Can we see the question? Yes. Okay, so question 1 says, what type of data transfer does AWS Snowball primarily facilitate? What kind of data transfer? A. Real-time data streaming. B. Large-scale offline data transfer. C. Small file transfers. D. Online file synchronization. What is our answer? B, 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 B. Okay, B. I would respond to your question after the knowledge check. I've taken note of it. Okay, so B. All right, so let's see. Yes, the answer is B. If you said B, kudos to you. Good job. So, Snowball is used for large scale offline data transfer. Yes, I like this one. This is a scenario question. So, read very, very well. Says an organization wants to synchronize their files between their on-premises storage and AWS S3 automatically, ensuring that any changes in either of the location is reflected in other, which means that if there's a change in their on-prem, the change will reflect in their AWS automatically, right? Which AWS service is best suited for this task? Which AWS service is best suited for this task? If you've been paying attention, you will know that there's a keyword there that would help you know the answer. Okay, I'm seeing C, I'm seeing B, I'm seeing D, C, B, D. Okay, are we sure? Again, note some things, read in between the line. There's the answer is lying in just one word in the question. Okay, I think okay. All right, so let's see what the answer is. The answer is D. The answer is D. Remember, we said that AWS Data Sync is what helps to automate data transfer. You want to transfer something and you want it to be an automated process, not manually uploading the file, right? You use data sync. So the word automatically is what you should have gave it out in the question. So that's what gave it out. That's what made the answer AWS data sync. So to those that got it, well done. To those that missed it, it's a good opportunity to also learn. I hope you understand why the answer is data sync now. Question 3 is also a scenario based question. So, a company is setting up a hybrid cloud environment where they want to retain some data on prem while seamlessly integrating with AWS for backup and archiving. Which service best facilitates this? So, they want an hybrid kind of storage solution. An hybrid storage solution. I think I should the answer should be easy with what I just said. The answer should be very easy with what I just said now. So one more minute, one more minute, one more minute before it is 9 o'clock. Sure, less than 1 minute. I'm not saying our answers to this question. No. B A K A A A. Okay. All right. Okay. Because of our time, yes, the answer is A. So again, like I said earlier, storage gateway is your hybrid storage solution, is what can give you that hybrid storage solution, storage gateway. Before 9 o'clock. Question 4. Which type of storage does AWS Storage Gateway primary provide? This is a bonus question. This is a very, very bonus question. So 2 seconds to answer it. This is a very, very bonus question. What type of storage does AWS Storage Gateway primarily provide? Only cloud storage, hybrid cloud storage, local storage, streaming storage. I already said the answer safe when I was explaining the last question. Okay. Thanking you and God bless you. All right. So the answer is B. The answer is B. So storage gateway provides hybrid storage. That is basically it. Last question. last question. Let me see people that paid attention to that table that I shared. A company needs 50 terabyte of data from its on-premises data center to AWS for a big project, but they cannot afford the high internet cost for online transfer. So, which means that this company doesn't use an online method, right? And they have 50 terabyte of data. So pay attention to those two things. They don't use online transfer method, and they have 50 terabyte of data. Which AWS service would they use? Which AWS service would they use? Let me see those that really, really, really paid attention today. A. Hmm. Okay. A. Okay. All right. I'm glad that we did not get confused and choose Snowcon. So it means that we actually like paying attention. Yes, the answer is snowball. So yay. Well done. Thank you, everyone. That was a very, very good one. Um, Thank you to everyone that has participated. Um, a baby that asked which one is more expensive. More expensive will be dependent on the type of data, the size of your data, and what you can afford. Of course, when they are sending something to you, you should know that it will cost more, right? It will cost more, but it might be worth it if you consider the amount of time it will take to send it over the internet instead. So sometimes you might have to forgo cost for efficiency. If you are saying, oh, it's going to be more expensive, and then you decide to use online, and then your data is using 34 years to upload, you know that you have lost more money within that 34 years than just incurring the cost of them sending the device to you, and within 10 days you've gotten your data in AWS cloud. So then for API, right? I said data sync encrypts your data during transfer. Now, while it is transferring your data, right, from your on-prem to your AWS, is because it's going through the internet, right? So it has to encrypt it, which means that while it is in transit, anybody can see it over the internet and try to hack into the data. But because the data will be encrypted, they will not be able to see what the data means. So the data is of no use to them, basically. So that's why it's encrypted. Now, after it has moved the data into your S3 bucket, nothing concerns it again. If you did not encrypt your S3 bucket, then that is on you. While for the rest, for the Snow device, because there's going to be a physical movement, it has to encrypt it while you are transferring the data that is in transit, and also encrypt it while the data is sitting inside the device, because you're going to be moving a physical device. So both of them are best practice depending on the need. Data sync does not need to encrypt at rest, because the data is not you're not storing the data inside data sync. The data is being stored somewhere else. So the only business of data sync is while you are transferring the data. That is why it only encrypts while it is moving, while it's in transit, basically. Hope that is explained, Happy. Jumoke, well done. God will forgive you. I did not join the challenge. All right, I think we're good for the night. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much, everyone. Happy, I'm glad you understand now. Yeah, so have a wonderful night rest. Congratulations on the end of your 7th week. In the 7th week, right? Yes, on the end of the 8th week. Wow, wow, you guys are you're amazing. Right, so we are ending this very, very soon. So thank you, everyone. Have a lovely, lovely night rest. It's been a pleasure. Love you all. Bye.